This episode is powered by NHL Sense Arena. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome back to another edition of Our Girls Play Hockey. It's Lee with Hayley Scamurra here today, and we've got a topic that's going to affect all of you along your hockey journey at some point, whether it's girls, boys, pros, anything in between. At some point, probably annually, you're going to go to a camp of some sort, okay? It could be a skills camp, a training camp, development camp, a summer camp, right? It could just be a day camp, but you're going to go to camps, okay? So our very own Hayley here has a little bit of experience in every single one of those types of camps, including running them and coaching them. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. We want you to leave this episode with some actionable advice of, okay, if I'm going to a camp, this is what I should be looking for, or this is what I should be taking from a camp that I'm already at. So with that said, let me bring in Hayley. Hayley, it's great to see you. Always glad to have you. Thanks for being on your show.
Thanks for having me back, obviously. Excited to chat with you again.
Yeah, it goes both ways. And, you know, Hayley, where I want to start is a really cool, awesome, warm moment. You and your father both recently ran a camp, the Scamurra Camp in Buffalo, New York. So why don't you just walk the audience through a few things, like how that came to be,
Yeah.
walk through the actual camp. And then I just love seeing all the pictures of you with the gold medal and the kids and the family. Pretty unique moment.
Yeah, it was funny because it was after we had won the gold medal. I had kind of thought about like maybe doing something back home, and I wasn't sure what because it was a little bit quick to kind of decide to do that for the summer. I feel like it was a pretty quick plan that kind of came together. And then my boyfriend actually came up with, he was like, what if you did like a daddy-daughter clinic,
Yeah.
something like that? And I was like, that could be really fun. My dad had just been getting back into coaching a little bit. He would help kind of youth teams in the area and just go on the ice with them and work with them. And he's like 71 now, so like he doesn't move, as great as he would like on his skates. But he just loves hockey. He lives, breathes, eats it. Like he was so excited to get back out with the kids. And so I brought the idea to him and he was like, yeah, I'll do it. Like that sounds amazing. He was so excited. Um, and I was kind of like working through the ideas that I wanted to incorporate into the camp. And my thing that I wanted to add was the family fun skate at the end. Um, and that's where like anyone who participated, they could bring a parent, a sibling, whoever they wanted on the ice with them to just kind of like, take pictures, enjoy, just kind of have fun together. And it was funny because when I came up with the idea, I was like, I wasn't sure how it would be received. I was a little nervous about throwing that idea out there because I've never really seen it done before. And I was like, oh my gosh, what if everyone hates it? Or what if no one does it? And I'm like, okay, Haley, calm down. Like it's not that big of a deal, but it
Yeah.
felt so nerve-wracking. Um, and along with that, we also added in like the mentorship piece because obviously like Nick and I are both super passionate about that. So
Yeah.
we started with that. At the beginning, we did a little talk, question and answer, just kind of all that fun stuff. And then we did a workout with the bands outside, which was really nice. And then we did about hour 20 skate. And then my dad ran one end, I ran the other, Nick ran stuff in the middle, or we only did two stations. It depended on the group. And then the family fun skate was at the end. Um, and it was so much fun. We absolutely loved it. Everything went amazing, but it was definitely super nerve wracking, honestly.
Yeah, well, you want it to go well, right? But I'll
Yes.
tell you this one thing about you, Haley. You're just never afraid to try things. Like,
Mhm.
like I think you run towards, we'll say, calculated risks of like this may work, it may not. I don't like the way it makes me feel. Let's do it.
Yeah.
But that's why you succeed, right? And I'll say this too. I am all for family fun skate, and I'll tell you why. Because I think I'm going to say this to the whole audience out there. If you are a parent of a hockey player and you did not play, if you've never played, I think it's imperative that you get on the ice one time,
Yes.
just one time to understand not just the skating and, that aspect of it, but the speed
Mhm.
that you're in an enclosed space. I've always loved to equate hockey to like NASCAR, except I said, imagine, 10 cars going around in an enclosed space like that where you can hit each other. Because that's
Yeah.
kind of what it feels like at times, and throw the goaltenders in there too. I also love, again, or not the prerequisites, the resume on this. It's like you got anybody out there listening. If you had heard former NHL player, Olympic gold medalist, current PWHL champion, those are pretty good reasons to attend the camp, right? Oh, and by
Hmm.
the way, their father and daughter, that's unique in its nature, right? Can you
Yeah.
talk? I do want to ask, it's a little bit of a sappy question, but like you're out there with your
Yeah.
dad. I mean, that must have been amazing.
It really was, and especially because, like, obviously our relationship, a huge piece of it is hockey,
Right.
and we've gone through our fair share of, frustrations and, also the joys and excitement of it, right? Like, he was my coach growing up. Like, obviously I would get frustrated by him. Like,
Right.
it wasn't a surprise. He was hard on me, and at the time I remember it being really frustrating, and, now looking back, it's obviously helped me kind of become the person and player that I am today, and I'm very grateful for it. And I think that perspective has helped me kind of cherish our relationship in a different way now too. And now it's like, now I'm excited to go work with him. Like, now I'm
Right.
excited to be coached by him or hear his thoughts on things. And I think that evolution kind of in our relationship, it was really nice to be able to go out on the ice and coach together. Like, that was a very unique experience, and it was so great. We were like, I stayed at his house for a few days before the clinics, and he was looking up YouTube videos. He had his like notebook, which I remember he would plan like meticulously, like
Yeah.
our practice plans growing up. So it was just like such a throwback. But then there we are practicing or like working through the practice plans together and wanting to make sure this was such a great camp for the kids. And we did a lot of the drills either we did growing up or, in our summers and things like that, or it was new drills that he found online. So it was just so much fun to kind of work with him in a different capacity and just kind of build our relationship in a different way. And share our love of the game with like the next generation in the area was just absolutely surreal. And afterwards, he just said he loved seeing me like kind of interact with all the young girls and stuff and seeing me inspire them. And that was like his favorite part of it, which was great.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Haley. So obviously, for those of you wondering, there's plenty of social media content on Haley's channel here that you should check out at Hayley Scamurra, obviously. Haley, you're a good coach. And again, like we only get a few snippets of you, but I was watching you on a video the other day, kind of explaining the drill. You
Hmm.
communicate really clearly, and not. I mean, you're clearly in your element out there. Like, not that
Thanks.
you're not here or anything like that, but I'm just saying, like the way you
Yeah.
were explaining it, it was so great because obviously you were explaining the drill, you were explaining
Hmm.
kind of the why and the how, and then
Hmm.
the here's how to do it better. Um, Look, you're a player. Be a player as long as you can be a player, obviously, right? Where does that, Coach Haley come from? Like, where did you draw for that? Because I'm gonna say it again, Haley. I've been around a lot of coaches. You are
Hmm.
really good at articulating what needs to be done.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think it's evolved for sure. I've done so much coaching kind of throughout my career, as a side gig for, for fun, whatever it might be. And you really have to learn different ways to communicate a drill or a concept to kids
Right.
because it's not like a one size fits all. And funny enough, like the clip that you're talking about, like each time, because it was stationed, so I was doing different groups
Right.
each time. And as the groups went on, I was realizing, oh my gosh, I have to teach this part of it. There's so
Right.
many little things about the game where I'm like, oh, this is like second nature to me, but it's like, wait, it's not to them yet. Like, I need
Right.
to explain this in detail. And then the ice hockey systems guy was out there as well, and he was like, "Oh, like, he was showing his niece who was on the ice something. He's like, "Is that okay I did that?" I was like, "Of course." I'm like, "I forgot to kind of mention that with,
Right.
like, the stick detail and stuff." So I was like, "That's great for me to know for next time." So it's constantly evolving, honestly, and I do appreciate that compliment because it is
I
like,
meant it. Yeah.
yeah, but it has evolved for sure. Like, I remember I like to pick brains of people I coach under a lot too, and I like to see how they coach a concept and see how I can incorporate it like in my own way. Because I may not know as much on the subject as they do, but maybe I can explain it in my own way for kids to hear in a different way so it clicks for them.
Yeah, and I love that you're always like ever evolving with it because
Hmm.
that's the key too. And I actually enjoy, at least this part of my career, I enjoy watching how other coaches coach because you start
Hmm.
to draw things from that as well. And like you said before about drill creation becomes real fun, when you enjoy the team you're coaching because it's almost like
Hmm.
putting puzzle pieces together of how can I get from A to Z through the drills that we're trying to discuss. But no, I love the way you explain that. I also love the way you did it. I'm going to say that again because you mentioned it. Kids have to have this done sometimes differently, depending on who you're coaching, what their age level is at. We did that great episode not too long ago about net front presence and how that muscle memory was built in your mind.
Mhm.
And I remember we talked about, like, now you just do it. Like, you're not thinking about it. You just do it. But all the steps that had to happen for that to be there. One of the
Mhm.
things I'm coaching to right now is the difference between reaction and anticipation.
Mm.
And it's, for the audience listening, reaction versus anticipation, just to quickly imagine trying to coach that, right? They're very similar things. One is forethought, one is after the thought. Right?
Yeah.
That's important in hockey, right?
Mhm.
So little things like that are not always as simple to coach as people think, but you did a good job. I want to ask you
Thank
this
you.
too, just keeping it moving. You've attended a lot of camps, right?
Yeah.
And you can go any level of your career here with this. What separates the great ones from the the meh ones?
Ah, it's so hard because I feel like they're all for different purposes, and I think that could be great depending on what you want, right? Like, I know for mine, for the Buffalo clinics that I had, that I added the family funscape part of it because I didn't want it to be so serious.
Right.
Sometimes I find that like summer camps can get like super intense and serious, and I'm like, these kids are coming out here to have fun. I mean, unless you are choosing a super serious summer camp, which
Right.
all power to you, but I like, at least for mine, I wanted it to have like that fun piece to it. We're playing games during the practice and things like that. But I honestly just think it's the intention behind the camp. I think you can tell when it's just a money grab versus when they want that experience to be really great for the kids.
Right.
You can tell people's intentions by the thought that is put into like the drills, or maybe like the gifts that like the kids might get, or just like, yeah, their attention to detail and what they're kind of offering and what they're promoting and things like that. I think you can really just tell when people are doing it for the love of the game, for the next generation, and like obviously I understand people need to make money and that's totally fine, but like you can tell the difference from when their heart's not in it.
Yeah, well, let's do that. We'll do this together, right?
Okay.
Based on what you just said. There's
Yeah.
so many camps available. Like, there's
Mm.
just no shortage of them. And you're right. Some of them are cash grabs. I've seen them. They're
Mhm.
kind of scary, actually. But let's just say we're like, I am a parent. Let's just say we're parents here. We're investing our money. That's the way I want you to look at it. Someone's
Yeah.
spending money on this. Let's come up
Yes.
with 3 things that we should look at before we sign up for the camp. Okay. I mean, and I can tell you one of mine right off the bat is
Mhm.
coach to player ratio. That's
Oh.
that's what I'm looking for. All right.
Mhm.
Because if it looks like the first day of learn to play hockey and there's 100 kids on the ice, to me, that's a big red flag, right? That is a cash grab. Like,
Mhm.
I want to coach. I'd say for every 5 kids, there should be one coach, right?
Mhm.
Within reason, and that might even be a little too high. I mean, ideally, I think you want 3 or 4.
Yeah.
The best clinics I see, there's coaches littered all over the ice at
Yeah.
camps, excuse me, with intense teaching. And we should also say too that coaches and shooters can be different things,
Mhm.
right? But I think it's coach to kid ratio is important to me. I think that's a fair question of like how many kids are going to be on the ice at this camp.
That's a really good point. It's interesting to hear your point of view, obviously, too, as like a parent, right? Like
Mm,
what to look for your kids. And I think coach to player ratio are important. Um, I remember we made sure we had that for sure. Because some of our groups, we had like 36 kids in the one day.
right,
And so I had to make sure we had extra hands on because you really want to make sure the kids are getting individual, support,
right.
and you
Value.
want it to, and value. Exactly.
Yeah,
Like
right.
we want them to have a good experience. So I think it's super important to make sure, honestly, maybe like honestly, I don't think you're too far off with the 5-to-1 ratio. I think 6 or 7-to-1 is also like
I
around
think it
that range
depends
is
how it's
good.
broken up. Like, if you're doing small
Yeah.
groups around the ice, I think it is.
Yeah.
It just really depends on what you're trying to teach, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, because like there's also I should say this, I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate on myself, but like if you're doing a skating clinic, I think the groups can be a little bigger if you have a right skating instructor.
Yep.
What I always say in those situations is, you kind of want someone, watching as well, just to kind of, see what people are doing. Because I can't coach 10 kids at the same time,
Right.
right? But if I say this is the drill, we're working on edges, I want a couple extra coaches out there, at least just watching and pulling kids aside if I have to, or players.
Yes.
I shouldn't say kids.
Yep.
Not all camps are for kids.
Yeah.
I think another one you mentioned, and I'll come at it from the point of view of a parent, is, and this is a tough one. It's like, are my kids friends going to the camp, and
Mhm.
are they friends that are going to work hard? All right, because what I don't want is my kids going and just in the corner chatting the whole time, and it's just a fun time with their friends. I'm all for that off the ice. Don't get me wrong, parents. I
Mhm.
think that's an aspect of it, but I want them to push each other,
Mhm.
right? But the truth is this: whether you go with friends or not, right? They have to have that competitiveness. But sometimes, especially in the younger ages, yeah, I want my kids to go with their friends just so they can kind of catch up and push each other further. At the same time, I'm again contradicting myself. I want them to meet new kids, right? I want
Yep.
them to meet other opponents. Like
Yep.
I think about my son's goaltending camp, which is excellent. He has friends at that camp that he doesn't see the
Mhm.
rest of the year, right? So that's
Right.
also pretty cool. But how much does the camaraderie play into it for you? Excuse me, in terms of like three things to look for.
Yeah, I think that's huge too, and, that was also something I had noticed because like, a lot of kids would obviously sign up with their friends, so they wanted to be with their friends. And so sometimes we would give them the same jersey color, but then there were times where it just worked out, they were on different teams. And I do think it's great to be able to branch out, get to learn to meet new people, play with new people, and especially in such a quick environment where you're only with them for like a day or a few days. I think
Right.
learning to like play with new people and get to know them, and that's like a skill in and of itself, not even just related to hockey, just life, like getting able to meet people and know how to interact with them and know how to work together in such a short amount of time, I think is a vital life lesson.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it always freaks me out when people don't branch out like that because
Hmm.
I don't think I'm talking about just hockey now. I think
Yeah.
like you should have other activities. I mean, you can always have your friends and things like that. Look, let's go for the third one. If number three, the I think we can go one of two directions here. It's either scheduling or price. Now,
Mm.
may I ask how much you charge for your camp?
For the day, it was 275.
That is a perfectly acceptable price. Okay,
Yes.
I'm saying this for a reason. I did not know what that cost. I know you though.
Yeah.
Perfectly acceptable. I had an email come through to our
Yeah.
group here
Yeah.
saying that there was a camp that was charging $900 for the day,
For
and
one day.
it sounded like it was one day the way it was described to me. Here's the thing: even for 2 days, that's
No, that's like
yeah,
so
yeah.
wow.
And I actually said I would not do that camp for that amount of money. All right.
Uh-uh.
And unless you have no cares about money, which none of us in youth hockey do, I was like, that was kind of a red flag. I was like, and then I'm gonna merge the two. I was like, what are you getting for the money?
Right.
Right? Because like you could buy your own ice session for that three times in a row, most likely.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like it was just kind of a generic schedule. So I think it's the value of the amount you're spending versus what's the
Mhm.
schedule. I love your schedule. It's not just
Mhm.
ice, off ice, or gone. It's
Mhm.
ice, mentorship, off ice, family fun, skate, camaraderie.
Yep.
I could invest in that for my kids as a parent.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But I wish more camps would have better schedules, right? If I'm just
Mhm.
paying for a jersey and the ice time,
Right.
I don't think that's a good value, right?
Yeah.
I think it's got to be what are you doing off the ice? And
Mhm.
I'd want to hear what value is my kid going to leave the camp with. Again, I'll use my son's goaltending camp. He always
Mhm.
leaves with something new, and he tells me, "I learned this, I learned that, I asked
Aw.
this, I got that. Coach told me this." Adversely, in a positive way, my daughter was at an all girls camp last week as well. And
Mhm.
it's like every day she came home with, "Oh, they taught us this. We did that. This was really hard. I didn't like this." That's
Mhm.
a good thing to hear too, right? I didn't enjoy this, right? Like
Yep.
that's progress in some form, right? But the money has to match the experience. It's
Yeah.
like $900 for a camp, even if it was a week. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's too much. Like it's a little crazy for
A
me. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I agree. I don't know if I've ever I don't know if I've heard a camp that high, if I'm being honest.
Right.
So that is quite something. But I mean, I think the price was something I, worked around for a while, just trying to think of what the fairest price is.
Yeah.
And that was hard. And I think that was also like it was a little stressful to think of. Like I wanted to make sure that I was offering enough for these families and like gifting the kids stuff and the jerseys and just making sure everything was good based on what I was saying the price was. But it is
Right.
taking time out of my life and out of the coaches' lives that are also coming and working the camp and paying for ice time and all those different things. And so, yeah, it took a minute, but I'm glad,
No, good.
I'm glad it was like a fair price. But
It
yeah, you
was.
don't want to be paying like an arm and a leg to let your kid go to a camp for a few days, you
Yeah,
know?
I'll say this too, that when I think most of us, it's not that we would do it for free. Most of us don't want to overly charge. Like we're not going in this going like it's just not
Right.
how a lot of us are going into these camps. Truth is, though,
Yeah.
ice time costs money.
Yeah.
Time is time, right? We do need
Hmm.
to be compensated for these things, but
Hmm.
that's why I said it's a red flag, because I think most camps that I see, the value matches the amount that I'm being asked to spend,
Right.
right? So for the parents listening and the kids listening, if you don't feel that, if it raises an eyebrow, like how much did you say? I mean, unless you've got everyone coming out of that camp thing saying this is the greatest, most amazing thing ever. I went in there, my kid's 6 inches taller now, and the shot is 50 miles per hour faster. I'd pay for that, right? Who wouldn't? But that's probably not going to be happening.
Right.
On this trajectory, Haley, let's talk about this. So there's different types of camps too, right? I said
Hmm.
at the beginning of the show, there's kind of hockey day camps that are more recreational in nature. There's also hockey skills camps, defenseman camp,
Hmm.
offenseman camp, goalie camp, skating, shooting, skills camps. Um, do you believe players should attend one over the other? Do you think there's more value in one over the other? Like how would you approach that as a family?
Mm. I think if you're kind of looking for something fun for them to do over the summer where they can just like meet new people, enjoy going on the ice and working out or whatever, I think a hockey day camp is perfect for your kid.
Right.
Like, I think those are the ones where they're there all day. You're able to just drop them off 9 a.m. or whatever that time is, pick them up at 3:30. Um, and they have a lot of fun and they get to meet new people and they're playing off ice games and things like that. I would say if you're looking for more individual work or individual skills, then you would want to attend like those smaller skills sessions and things like that, if you're kind of more serious in that sense. But maybe doing honestly both in the summer might be kind of fun. Maybe you start off your summer with like the fun week of hockey camp where it's not as serious maybe, and then you kind of go into like your more skill-based ones later in the summer when you're kind of like ramping up for the season maybe.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of how we do it in our family. So look,
Hmm.
I'm religious about this on the show. We take a break at the end of the season,
Yeah.
always. At the minimum a month. It's usually two. There may be a thing sprinkled in there, like a
Hmm.
couple days, but it's nothing consistent. And then kind of when we get to now, like we're recording this in July. I joke with my kids, it's like season kickoff. It's just let's get on the ice, do a camp. They both did a
Yep.
week camp.
Nice.
My favorite thing that I hear from them is it's so good to be out on the ice again. My son said that
Yep.
to me after the first day. I was just so happy to be back on the ice again. Like, okay, you're refreshed, you're feeling good.
Yes.
My daughter's out there. I could see her trying hard. And now I'll start at home a little bit to ramp up a little more of a consistent build up. It won't be 5 days a week or anything like that. And
Hmm.
it's funny because when I'm looking at my calendar, Haley, like our practices start for the regular season the last week of July, starting in August. That's sounds early, but that's when a lot of teams start. And it's like they're going to have plenty of ice from that whole month leading up to the regular season. So now it's
Right.
just about some building some touch points, right? So
Right.
when we look at camps right now, that's kind of what I'm looking for them. They have their day camp. It's if a
Hmm.
hockey thing comes available.
Yep.
I always ask too. I think that's another important part of this. Like I don't force my kids into hockey camp.
Right.
I'm always asking him, do you want to go, to my daughter, do you want to go to this all girls camp? Yeah. Do you want to go to the goalie
Hmm.
camp? So, yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. Now they're invested in it and they're trying to
Yeah.
learn something. So I think that's an important part of the choosing process too, right?
Hmm.
Is having that conversation with your kids.
Absolutely, because I'm sure your kids will let you know if they had fun or not at that camp.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing more heartbreaking than I hated that. I hated that.
Oh.
I've seen it. And there's
Yeah.
a difference between it was hard and I hated it. All
Right.
right. It was hard and I didn't like it being hard. Now that's life lesson opportunity. If it's I hated that, I hated the kids, I hated the coach, that's
Yeah.
that's usually a red flag for the future.
Right.
Here's one for you, right? You can bring this to Olympic camp if you want. All right. What's a mistake you see players make coming into a camp, like arriving at a camp, and maybe what should they do instead?
Oh, man, that's a tough question. Um, I would say I don't know if mistake is the right word, But something I've noticed is just having like respect for the coaches that are there. I think sometimes you have to kind of like lay down the law a little bit at the start when you maybe don't really want to do that. And I think the having a respect for the coaches that are there taking time to like have fun with you and have camp, and I think the quicker you kind of realize that you need to respect them and listen to directions and stuff, the more fun you're going to have at the camp. But
Right.
sometimes that kind of level of respect, they're kind of just like thinking it's just only for fun. They can do whatever they want. It's like, no,
Right.
you're still here to like learn and to get better, and you can still have fun, but within the lines of still respecting everyone around you.
Yeah, it's not daycare. And like
Right.
that's one of the things I
Right.
think when I run a camp or I do it, I kind of establish that in a positive way. Like, hey, this isn't like
Yes.
I mean, you may drop your kids off, but it's not drop off, don't care daycare,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yep.
that was when they were babies for me. Like I mean it like this, you're investing money into what I'm doing.
Yes.
Let's make sure that they show up mentally ready to understand that we can have fun. It can be maybe a little loose compared to the regular
Hmm.
season, but there's work to
Hmm.
be done. And I expect you to do the work. And I'll say to parents, if that's not your kid, then this isn't the camp for you.
Right.
Right. And again, I'm not like, oh, but when I'm out there, but it's just like, no, we're going to have fun, but you got to put the work in.
Yes.
Another pet peeve of mine is just being on time. I mean,
Hmm.
like it's a little awkward. Look, you're going to be late every once. It happens. Traffic things happen. But when I see a kid walking in during the first ice session, and I can tell it's because they didn't feel like waking up that day,
Yeah.
that's maybe you're right. Maybe mistake's not the word. That's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's and I'll be honest with you. The parents will come in and say, I just couldn't get him out of bed. They were just lazy in bed. I was like, well, you're the parent.
Yeah. Get them
Get him out of
going.
bed. Like, what are you talking about? And then I'll say this too, the preparation, right?
Yeah.
Some of these camps start early. Like if you've got to be on
Yep.
the ice, let's just say 8 a.m., which is not crazy early, but you
Right.
figure you got to be there latest 7:30,
Yep.
maybe driving a half hour. You're probably waking up at the 6 o'clock hour in the summer. Does anybody want to do that?
Hmm.
No, nobody wants to do that. All right.
Right.
But did you pack the bag the night before, put it in the car?
Hmm.
I'll have my kids get dressed into their kind of like undergarments at the house. Like
Hmm.
put yourself in a position to succeed.
Right.
All right. And I'm gonna say this. I'm not gonna take the excuse, well, I have 4 or 5 kids. Like I mean, this is an action. Like just
Yeah.
it's a consistent habit you gotta create.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty important too. I mean, and I imagine at the pro level, like Haley, the on time is 15 minutes late mentality takes off, right? Can you
Y-
talk to us a little about the pros and how they approach camps?
Yeah, I think for us, our joke is always like if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late kind of thing.
Right.
So that was a big thing, especially like with USA Hockey. Like we're literally sitting in the meeting room for 10 minutes before it's supposed to start. So we normally start like 5 minutes early,
Right.
probably. But that's just kind of like ingrained in us. Like you don't just show up like right on time. Like you're always early. Um, and I just think it's the basic. You know what I mean? It's like the easiest, simplest thing you can do, but it also shows that you're a professional when you're showing up early and stuff. And like whenever like if a rookie or something, if they're like always late, like that's usually something we're like kind of cracking down on pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we gotta be early. Like we don't show up late to things. And so that's one of the easiest things to kind of like hold each other accountable for, I would say.
How the Olympic level, the Olympic camp.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I wanna talk about that, just, like, I imagine everyone's at that well, maybe I'm right. Is everyone at that level at that camp, or do you have the rookie situation sometimes at the Olympic level?
I would say we had the situation maybe in 2022, but this time around we didn't have any of that. Everyone was good and ready to go for
Yeah,
sure.
and just remind everybody how that ended up?
We
Just
won gold, so
just making sure.
so show
Sorry.
up early.
Canada, it's I'm sorry, to our Canadian listeners, give us a break, okay? You've had it for a long time. You get to do this every
Yeah.
once in a while.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm just teasing there. Here's another one I wanna ask you, right? So let's talk about specific camps. Let's say you're going to a skills camp of some sort, right?
Hmm.
The question always comes up from parents of when the kid enters the camp and leaves the camp, how much progression should they see, right? Now, I want to discuss this for a few minutes because there are no camps on earth that
Hmm.
in 1 week your kid's going to go in at a certain level and come out at a completely different level.
Hmm.
And I think that parents have to go into these camps, kids too, for that matter, with an understanding of the job is not just to improve. I hope to goodness every kid comes out of any ice session I'm with more information than when they came in. But I always say to the parents, Haley, you want to bring tools out of the camp that you can apply for the rest of the season. If you leave my camp with a tool or a skill set that you know you need to improve on, and we've given you the tools to do that, that's the biggest value you can take away from a camp. And yet, look, of course, every once in a while, not even once in a while, like kids, things will click at a camp. Like you'll get to get things for the first time. Again, I can use goalie camps, like the mechanics. Like that's almost an easier place to find things to click. Just the nature of goaltending. Nothing easy about goaltending, folks. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I think when we think about camps, it's like no. It's not about coming out of the camp a different player. It's about coming out of the camp a more knowledgeable player. You agree with that? And then tell me about your experience with that too.
Absolutely agree with you. I think, maybe you come out of the camp with more knowledge on how to work on a skill.
Right.
And so that you're able to work on that skill more often in your free time. I think that's probably maybe the biggest indicator of, having success at a camp or enjoying a camp and what it provided.
Right.
Something else that I kind of realized, and it kind of ties in with the camaraderie thing and meeting new people and stuff, but by going to a camp, you're also exposed to more kids at different skill levels.
Right.
And so I think that naturally kind of helps you either elevate your game or realize kind of where you are and continue to elevate your game. But that's another cool aspect I think of a camp is that you're going to be surrounded by kids you maybe normally wouldn't have been surrounded by, and you kind of expand what you feel you could be capable of and kind of elevate your game in that way.
Yeah, and that's not just talent based. That's maturity based. That's again, and it can go either way. How a kid handles themselves, or maybe doesn't handle themselves.
Yeah.
I think also in this kind of culture of this highlight reel mentality that we have now of only seeing highlights. That's another reason to be at these camps, because I would want my kids. And I had a really good discussion with my son. I don't mind talking about the mindset of a camp. Of if you see a kid that's more skilled than you at something, that's your opportunity to learn, right?
Yes.
And the story I remember too is that my son, look, I coach, he sees me coaching, so he naturally kind of has some of those tendencies to want to help other people. It's not so much that he's coaching, but he'll tell his teammates, hey, this is what I see. And he's learning that not every teammate wants to hear that, right? And it's just the truth, right? And I remember he got in the car one day, he was kind of confused. He's like, well, this is how he said it. He said, I was trying to tell this kid something I saw. And the kid snapped at me saying, well, I'm AAA. I don't need to listen to you. All right. And I'm bringing this up, obviously no names here, right? I'm bringing this up because the way we had discussion was this. I didn't go, well, that kid's an idiot. No, I said, well, okay. I said, he didn't want to, he just wasn't in a position to want to take that information. And I said, is that your problem or his problem? He goes, that's his problem. I said, yeah, then don't let it bother you. Do you feel like you were doing the right thing? He goes, yeah. I said, okay, that's enough. I said, but you also got to realize, not everybody wants to be taught. And I said that, and this is also a key of coaching, is, you have to be ready to receive the transmission.
Yep. If
it's closed, you're not receiving the transmission. And we all get to mindsets like that at some point in our life. But I also said to him too, Haley, I said, do you see how the letters next to your name don't qualify you as a person? And I said that I'm not saying that goalie that he was talking to was a bad person. Could be a tremendous kid, right?
For sure.
At that moment, he was not available to listen.
Right.
So the point I'm making, what I'm getting to with this, is that you're right, Haley. When you go to a camp, you're going to have every letter, AAA, AA, A, B, C, whatever exists out there.
Yeah.
Man, what an opportunity to see what they're doing what you can improve at. You might also discover things that you're good at that you didn't realize, right? Like if everyone's great at shooting, well, maybe get good at passing, right? Or if everyone's good at skating, obviously get good at skating too, but where do you fit in? What can you do? Right. So I think that's one of the tremendous values is again, being around other kids, being around other skill levels, and then learning. And I would say this too to the kids, and Haley, I'm going to tap into your mindset too, that growth mentality, that learning mindset. Kids don't go into the camp with this, God, I hope no one's that much better than me. It should actually be the opposite. Not, I hope everyone's better than me, but I hope there's people here that I can learn from. Right. And I imagine at the pro level too, Hayley, like again, not just camp, but in general, like
Mhm.
you play with some pretty prolific players that have accomplished some
Yeah.
things. I'm sure you're trying to learn
Yeah.
from them every time you're with them.
Absolutely. I always want to be around the best players. I think it only makes you better. It elevates your game. And then you also realize like what your strengths are, right? Like they might not
Right.
have the same strengths as you, and it kind of makes you appreciate those a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's fun to play with good people. I've never been one to be like, oh, I want to be the best player on my team. Like I don't want anyone to be better than me. It's like, no, I want everyone to like bring their strengths to the table. I
Right.
want to play with the best players and make myself better in the process.
Yeah. Well, and you continually do. Here, a couple more questions, Hayley. Here's one for you, right? And again, we can discuss it together, but like I
Hmm.
think about parents, and I want you to take this from the coach point of view. What's something parents should be telling their kids before camp? Because I've heard it all. I mean, I can tell you
Yeah.
what not to say, but you're around these kids when they're showing up. I mean, what are some of the things you've heard growing up, or some of the things you want to hear parents be saying to their kids to prep for camp and when they drop them off?
I mean, I said it earlier. I think the respect thing is huge.
Mhm.
Respecting your coaches. I think being willing to listen and
Yeah.
be coachable, I think is a big one. I think there's a lot of sometimes a lot of resistance to that as the coach, and it's like, okay, I'm here to coach. Like that's
Right.
kind of
My job.
my purpose
Yeah.
here. But if you're not willing to receive that, then you know what? I'm going to go to the next kid because they're probably excited to receive that information. So I think just letting your kids know that like being coached doesn't mean you're not good or you're bad or anything like that. It's only to help you continue to get better.
Yeah.
And I think those two pieces are some of the biggest, I don't know, I think some of the biggest ones to kind of focus in on before going to a camp. And then just having fun and meeting new people, I think is super important. I remember the other day I was shocked when I heard these two kids, like they were hanging out this whole time, right? And I'm like, "Oh, what's their name?" And they go, "Oh, I don't know." I go, "You've been hanging out.
Yeah.
Like introduce yourselves, you
Yeah.
guys."
Yeah.
So I think that's a little surprising. I think in this day and age sometimes where I think people forget to just introduce themselves so they
Yeah.
know each other's names and things like that. And I think that's super important. Like it was fun this weekend. I was coaching the team Montreal for this Rochester camp, and I didn't interact with them too much. Like I was coaching behind the bench and then coaching on the ice, but it's quick hits, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're on the bench and the girls are talking to each other and they're calling each other by ice cream flavors. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? They're like, oh, we were in the locker room getting to know each other and we're asking each other our favorite flavors. I'm like, wait, that's so cute.
Yeah.
And so then they would refer to each other as that. So I think fostering that in your kids, like getting to know other people, getting to know their names, introducing yourselves, like getting more social in that respect, um in my opinion is super important, and I think is important for just life in general, like not just for hockey. I think with these camps it's fostering things that help with life skills, not just for hockey.
100%. First off, I'm lactose intolerant, so that probably would have been mint chocolate chip for me, but
Mm-mm.
they'd probably call me lactate or something like that now. But one of the things I know to be true, Haley, and you just talked about it, is I was a kid once. I'm an adult
Mhm.
now. It looks like through human history, kids have never had a problem making friends with other kids. They're so
Yeah.
much better at it than adults,
Yes.
right? In terms of like to the point you just made of like they don't even know each other's names. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you put enough kids in a room together, they're going to figure it out, right? And they're going to be friends. And I think that's another aspect of these camps is, encouraging your kid, go meet some new people, go talk to some
Mhm.
people. And typically they'll do it on their own. I do love the growth mindset too. I say this all the time on the show. Coaches want to coach. We
Mhm.
want to coach. The kids we love the most are the kids who ask great questions, right?
Mm.
I just love it when any hockey player, doesn't even have to be a
Yes.
kid, just comes up to me and says, "Can you teach me this?" Because I
Mhm.
want to give my knowledge,
Yeah.
right? The thing that probably is the biggest like no for me is I know. I'm like, if you knew, you wouldn't be here, right? Or, that's one of those things that's frustrating to me. So yeah, as parents, in addition to, hey, look, I love you, son, daughter, have a great day, have fun out there, learn something.
Yeah.
Have an open mind, right? Learn
Mhm.
something. I think that's especially in the summer, and making me think about this as a dad. During the regular season, I probably don't say that enough, but in the summertime,
Mhm.
I'm like, hey, learn something amazing
Mhm.
today. Like even learn how this. Like I'm not a goaltender. I said learn how your pads can work more efficiently. Like
Yeah.
talk to the other goalies how they tie their skates, right? Like
Mhm.
Learn, like be a sponge. And
Yeah.
the other thing too that and I'm not bragging about my kids, but my son has a notebook and he writes down what he learns.
I
He
love
like
that.
journals what
Yeah.
he learns, and he's got a
Yeah.
notebook per season. And I hear that, oh, my kid would never do that. I'm like, do you know that? That's what I said to parents. Do you know that, or are you assuming that?
Right.
Right? You might be surprised if you ask him to write about hockey. Like if you're asking for an essay on the state of Hawaii and the gross domestic product of that state, yeah, I wouldn't want to write that either. But if you say, why don't
Right.
you write down just 3 little notes today about what you learned,
Mhm.
not only do they have a bigger chance of remembering it, but you're setting up a habit, right?
Right.
And reflection. So, and that
Yep.
goes back full circle here of, you want to take something away from the camp. When I ran my
Mhm.
training camp recently, I told all the athletes that my goal for this camp, one of the main goals, is that you leave with information you did not have when you got here,
Mhm.
right? And this will set up the final question for the show, whether it's actual hockey information, tactical information, or mental information. That's why
Mm.
I had guest speakers. That's why we had, like you said, you have off ice mentorship, right?
Yep.
That's going to set up the final question. And I think we've danced around some of them today, Hayley, but in addition to the ice, right? Besides the ice, what
Mhm.
life lessons do you hope players leave camp with? All right. And again, we talked about
Mm.
the camaraderie. We've talked about these things, but you face a lot of adversity in a week, right? With these
Mhm.
camps. What's a life lesson that they can take away? And please draw on your own experience, and you can go at any level you want.
There's so many. I think, to be honest, like one that's coming to my mind right now is just being able to take constructive criticism and be able to make yourself better from that.
Right.
I think it's so easy to brush it off and be like, no, I don't need to do that, or I know everything, like I'm good. And it's a lot harder to be like, you know what, they're right. I could work on that. Like I
Right.
could get better at that. Um, and to not take it so personally as well. And I think that also just equates to whatever you might do in your next stage in life or in college or in your job or, with relationships. I think there's just things you can always improve upon in yourself. And I think it's really important to be able to take those and not take it personally.
Yeah, I think that's just tremendous advice, and I think it comes back. Like I look for the commonalities in the episodes. It's a lot of this is just about having a growth mindset
Hmm.
consistently, like whether it's
Hmm.
camp, regular season, school. And I think that what we're hearing from you, Haley, is that, and this is again what separated you from the pack, is whether you're coaching, you're playing. It seems like in everything you do, you're looking to learn. You're
Yep.
looking to find something else, and um, not to extend it with more questions, but do you think
Yeah.
that was something you've always had? Is that something that you had at a young age as well, or is that something that developed over time?
I feel like I've always had it, but I also had a dad who was my coach. And so I feel like I just naturally was being coached a lot and was eager to learn and get better. So maybe it's like a mix of both. Because yes, I would get frustrated with my dad sometimes, obviously, but overall, I enjoyed learning. I enjoyed getting better. In school, I loved learning. Um, and so I think those things did kind of come naturally to me in a sense, but I do think it was also taught in me by both of my
Right.
parents, obviously. But my dad for sure was like a strong force in terms
Yeah.
of coaching. So I was used to being coached.
Well, I love it. And now Scamurra Hockey established
Yes.
2026 is a thing, right? So, look, again, I don't know your dad personally, but as a dad of 2 kids,
Mhm.
I can only imagine the level of pride he has in you,
Mhm.
in your family, how proud he is. But I'm telling you right now, if I was running a camp with my daughter or my
Yeah.
son of that
Yeah.
nature, I mean, I would be on cloud nine. I would be the happiest thing in the world for that. And I love your answer to the question as well, Haley. That like this is something as parents we can encourage our kids to do,
Mhm.
to learn, right? The learning, right? And
Yep.
again, telling is not teaching.
Mm.
Let's say that again to everybody. Telling is not teaching. Okay, the teaching is getting teaching the kids to think for themselves. I laugh because I feel like we're living in a time where like critical thinking skills are just not as sharp as they once
Mhm.
were. Like
Yeah.
son, daughter, go find the answer. Well, can't you just
Yeah.
give me the answer? I can. I'm not going to. Go
Right.
find the answer. All right. And I find that the kids that enter into these camps with a sense of curiosity take the most out of it.
Yep.
I think that's the moral of the story here, right?
Yeah.
And you created a camp that's demanding curiosity,
Mhm.
and I think that's really special. So
Thank you.
good on you, Hayley.
Yeah.
Another feather in the cap. All right. We got some more exciting Our Girls Play Hockey episodes coming up. Some of them Hayley doesn't know about. Some surprises for her coming down the line, and then in a good way.
Mhm.
And then we're going to be here with you during the summer gang with talking about a lot of different aspects. And I'm just going to tease it because we're recording it here. We all know Hayley's going to Vegas, but she's going to Vegas for something else soon, including the ESPN Awards, ESPYs, and a party that we're going to have to do a day of a life party coming
For
up.
sure.
I'm just teasing it for those you don't know. But, Hayley, thanks so much for the time today. As always, love doing this with you.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Our Girls Play Hockey. Remember, you can email us, have any thoughts, questions for Hayley, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com, or hit the description notes. You can text us. We can text you back. Only 160 characters. So if you want a longer answer, email us. But for Hayley Scamurra, I'm Elias. We'll see you on the next Our Girls Play Hockey, everybody. Take care. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.